Hello everyone. So today in this video we are going to understand about the essay Traditional and Individual Talent by TS Eliot. So here I'm going to basically discuss the important points that he has highlighted in this essay. So this essay, Traditional and Individual Talent, was originally published in two parts of The Egoist in 1919. In 1920, the essay was included in T.S. Eliot's full length of books of essays on poetry and criticism, The Sacred Wood, Essays on Poetry and Criticism. Now, this essay is very crucial because it highlights Eliot's critical perspectives related to his notion of tradition and delineates the importance of the sense of history in writing and understanding poetry. So here he talks about many things like the impersonality of poetry, the sense of tradition, the significance of tradition. So at first he talks about the misunderstanding of tradition, and Eliot here he tries to criticize the common misunderstanding of tradition that that artists generally used to have, like it is like as a blind imitation of past. And he clarifies that tradition is not about repeating the past or copying the old masters, okay, it is about following them, okay. So here he tries to explain the true meaning of tradition. So he feels that by tradition it means following a historical sense or deriving the historical sense from the predecessors. So the awareness of the past writers like literature and cultural heritage is very important for for an artist to achieve greatness, okay. And this feeling that the past, present and future literature are interconnected, it should be understood by the artist. And he also feels that a poet must have knowledge of the whole European literature, so from Homer to present. So in order to write great works, here the poet must also know works of Homer, okay. So he is saying that he is focusing on the significance of the historical works of art. Next, he continues to tell us about the role of the poet. He says that the poet must surrender his personal emotions and become a medium of tradition, okay. So he should actually consider himself as a messenger rather than a whole entity in itself, because he feels that poetry is not self-expression of emotions, but it is rather a process of depersonalization, okay. So here comes the important theory which is very important in regards to this essay, that is the impersonality of poetry. So Eliot here rejects the romantic idea of poetry as the spontaneous overflow of emotions. Instead, he says that poetry is an escape from personality, like the poet's own emotions and personality are transformed into something universal which can be related by every human being, okay. So in this regard he feels that he tries to give a chemical metaphor by referring to the poet as a catalyst. Eliot uses the analogy of a catalyst, okay. So in a chemical reaction, what is a catalyst? Catalyst helps form a new compound, but its own properties, it remains unchanged. So similarly he says that the poet's personality helps create poetry, but it should not appear in the final product, okay. So his personality should not influence the final product of art. And here he also says that poetry is a process, okay, not an expression. he says that poetry is not about personal feelings but rather about expressing universal emotions through individual talent. So we use our individuality to denote something which is universal in nature, which is applicable to all human beings. Okay, and the greatness of the poet, it lies in absorbing the tradition, not blindly imitating that, remember, just absorbing the tradition and transforming it into a new creation. Okay, and then he talks about the framework of tradition. So how individual talent provides new contribution, and then he focuses on the significance of the balancing of tradition and individual talent. He says that a good poet should balance both, like respecting the tradition as well as adding the originality. Okay, so this is how a poet becomes a good poet. So in short, what he tries to say is that tradition, it means historical sense, the continuity of the past and present, and then individual talent means what? The poet's depersonalized creativity. And what is good poetry? Good poetry is the impersonality plus the fusion of tradition with originality. Okay, so this is all about tradition and individual talent. These are the important points. So that's all. Thank you.